Higher costs for company drivers are near a 5-year low as drivers are searching for job opportunities at increased levels. June data seems to suggest that companies are slowly warming back up to the idea of partnering with those owner-operators again. However, it is costing those companies about 75% more to sign a new owner-operator than it did just 3 months ago. As always, we'll check in with Jason Miller to get his thoughts on the economy as we head into the extended 4th of July weekend. And in our news story, we'll talk about a Pennsylvania repair shop that was caught and charged for removing emission control devices. For Randall Reilly, I'm Joshua Miller, and this is the 30-Day Reset. Welcome everyone to the July 2025 edition of the 30-Day Reset. We're back every month to take a look at the latest data on driver recruiting, freight, and the economy. And just for good measure, we'll cover a current news story as well. If that kind of data is something that you find interesting or valuable and you're not already subscribed to our channel, well, go ahead and do that. While you're at it, go ahead and like and share too. And don't forget, all the data we go over in today's show will be available to you in this month's 30-Day Reset download. You can find the link for that in the description if you're watching the video over on YouTube, or right below the video player if you happen to be watching us on our Randall Reilly site. With that down, let's get to it. First up, it's Trucking by the Numbers, brought to you by Stratas. As far as truck driver recruiting goes, the job search activity on Google for truck driving jobs increased by 14% in June after multiple months of low activity. In addition to that, throughout May, the job posting activity rose by 3% and job seekers increased by 7%. Owner-operator job postings are now on the rise, though, as I mentioned in the open, filling those positions is costing companies 75% more today than it did just 3 months ago. When it comes to leads, the cost for those were up by 4% in May, and the data for June, while still preliminary, seems unchanged. Lead costs for owner-ops and solo company drivers are on the rise, while team company driver costs have dropped dramatically. The average lead cost for team company drivers in June is half of what it was in March and is at its most favorable point since March of 2019. The numbers for hiring remain favorable for company drivers, even as those higher costs for those drivers ticked up by 1% in May. Though it is worth noting that April CPH was at a 5-year low point. The cost per hire for owner-op campaigns fell 16% in May, coming off of April, which had the highest CPH for owner-ops since December of 2023. Looking at the latest freight numbers, it's a bit of a mixed bag. The overall total load volume was up by 16% year over year, but it still lagged 22% below the 5-year average. Similarly, the overall average spot rates were up 3% year over year, but those were down 7.5% when you compare them to the 5-year average. By the segments, dry van loads were down by 8% and rates were down 2% year over year. Refrigerated came in with a 1% year over year increase in load volume, but rates dipped by 0.5% year over year. And flatbed exploded with a 37% year over year increase in load volume and a 2% increase in spot rates year over year. If you'd like more details, including all of the 5-year average comparisons for all of those segments, you can check out this month's 30-Day Reset download, which is again available down below. Now, let's dig into this month's news story. A Pennsylvania repair shop is finding out the hard way just how serious the federal government takes the Clean Air Act. Matt's Heavy Duty Mobile Diagnostics and Truck Repair and Heavy Towing, also known as Matt's HD, and the owner himself, Matthew Caraluzzi, were indicted by a federal grand jury in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. The charges? Caraluzzi and Matt's HD are alleged to have performed hundreds of so-called deletes of hardware components and software tunes on commercial vehicle emission control systems. Hardware alterations to these emission control systems are often referred to as deletes. They tamper with the monitoring function of the diesel truck's onboard diagnostics, or the OBD, monitoring system. These deletes allow the vehicle to function while emitting higher levels of pollutants into the atmosphere. Caraluzzi and other employees of Matt's HD performed deletes and tunes on more than 700 diesel-powered trucks. The work orders and invoices often listed the work as deletes, but were later altered to use such language as reprogram, reflash, or ECM repair on Matt HD's paperwork to allegedly conceal the illegal activity. It is claimed that Matt's HD benefited financially, collecting close to $1 million for the illegal services. The investigation is currently ongoing and is a joint venture between DOT OIG and the Environmental Protection Agency Criminal Investigation Division. A statement from the court has said that all defendants are innocent until proven guilty, and all criminal complaints at this time are only accusations made by the government. If you'd like more info on the story, you can read up on that over at truckersnews.com or refer again to the 30-day reset download available below. Now let's check in with our good buddy Jason Miller for his monthly economic update.
Welcome everyone to our July market update that we are filming here right before the 4th of July. So just keep that in mind for any words that are said about current tariff policy, because that's going to be evolving this month. So if we look at where we're at, closing out June, the spot market really for the dry van space didn't really do anything exciting. We've got DAT's spot line haul rates that I estimate over here on the left over time. You can basically see we're continuing on this essentially flat movement over the last 2 years with some seasonal ebbs and flows. Looking at the chart on the right that's showing the seasonally, basically a seasonal plot, June just this year followed exactly what June last year did, which was better than June of 23, but it wasn't any type of significant tightening like we would have seen in, let's say, 2017 or 2018. And we're just moving basically horizontally right now. And again, this is a little bit disappointing. I know when I made my first half forecast back in December, I was expecting things to be looking up from here. And if we look at what's going on under the hood, it's really a demand story right now. And we've got data from June from 5 Fed Bank purchasing manager indices, as well as the Institute for Supply Management's data. And the big story right now is just manufacturing new orders are solidly in contractionary territory at the moment. Aggregated across the 5 Fed banks that report, we see those readings below 0. And for ISM, we see readings below 50, which is their threshold. And so again, most freight that is hauled by trucking companies originates at U.S. manufacturing plants. And so without strengthening new orders, it's difficult to see where that demand spike is going to come from. And when we think about sectors that drive a lot of manufacturing demand, one of the biggest ones that jumps out is single family housing. Think about the large appliances, the drywall, the shingles, the lumber, the everything that has to go into a house. And right now, single family housing starts are about 10% below on a seasonally adjusted basis where they were last year in 2024. And then if we look at the National Association of Home Builders and Wells Fargo National Housing Market Index, that slipped in June, 50s expansion there. The reading's just a bit above 30. So right now we've got a housing market that's essentially locked in at the moment. And we're seeing, due to interest rates being where they are, due to concerns about where building material costs will be at, we're not seeing the home building activity that we expected. And from a historical basis, DAT's spread between spot and contract rates, these data include the fuel surcharges, so they're all-in rates. That spread between the two is still quite pronounced. We're at about $241 a mile for contract, $202 for spot. That spread is to the tune of about 18-ish%, give or take, and historically that is well above a threshold that triggers a market turning. So right now, as we move into July, we've got manufacturing slowing down with the auto industry going into their model changeovers. The beverage sector is past peak season. It seems unlikely that things are going to switch right now as we move into the third quarter. So unfortunately, it seems that we're kind of saying more of the same, and we'll start to get hopefully some resolution on where tariffs are going to be at over the coming weeks.
Thank you so much, Jason. And with that, we've come to the end of yet another edition of the 30-Day Reset. If you want to check out any of the slides that Jason referenced there during his update, you can get a closer look at that and the recruiting, freight numbers, or dive into anything else we covered on today's show in this month's copy of the 30-Day Reset download, which is, again, one last time, available for you for free down below. There's also a contact link if you'd like to talk to someone on our team about how we can help you meet your goals, and a Stratas demo link. All of the recruiting data covered in the opening segment of the show today is coming straight from Stratas, and there's a wealth of information and data available to you on the platform. If you want to learn more, or if you'd just like to demo Stratas, you can follow that link in the description on YouTube or fill out the form below the player on our Randall Reilly site. Well, that's going to do it. Have a safe and happy 4th, everyone. We'll be back next month with another all-new edition of the 30-Day Reset. Until then, thanks for watching.